Back. Today I'm going to be doing my I/O video. So file I/O. Um, I'm just going to start off with this before I forget. For this to work, you definitely need to have this import java.io part in the beginning of your code before you even declare your class. This will have Java download the necessary stuff to be able to run all the rest of these things. Okay, so file IO. What are we trying to do here? What's the goal? The purpose is to be able to open up a file, something that stores data, and to either read it or write to it or a combination of the two. To do that, we need to do three things essentially. We need to, one, figure out where the file is, location. That's a really big deal. Then we need to open it and do all of our stuff to it. And then the third thing is closing it. Closing it's really important. That's what permanently writes it to the file and makes the changes essentially. If you forget that step, then what you did before kind of gets undone. Okay, so first of all, finding the file. How do we do that? Well, we do it with a file path and file name right here. The file path is just this because I'm saving these both on my desktop. You can see, oh, actually you can't see. Oh, you can. Cool. So here's the text file, and here is the video file. And so they're in the same folder on my desktop. Um, and so that's why I don't need a long path. I can just put it like that. And so that locates exactly where in the computer the program needs to look to find that file. This string line null is some later. And then it looks scary, but I have some tries and catches in here. These are for in case the file name can't be found. But you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so here is the part where we're opening the file and we're assigning a buffered reader. And that is an object type that is really good at taking in each line of I'm sorry, that it's an object that can take in a certain part of the file and then we can do stuff with it. So right here we use the file name, which is a path essentially, to get a new file reader that opens that up, and then we take the file reader and we make a buffered reader out of that. And then this is a while loop. If you aren't familiar with those, go back and watch my while loop video. And we're essentially saying that while the line doesn't equal null, um, what does that mean? That means that as long as there's text in each line, right? Because eventually we're going to get to the end of the file and there's going to be no text, and then we will do some other stuff. So this is saying while there's still stuff in the file, we're going to go through each line and print it out. So let's see how that works. Compile and run. And so I put some test stuff in that text file. And here we go. So for each line that pops out, the first one says test information, line 2 and 3, wow, fourth line. This one was a blank, just wanted to see how that looked, and then this is the last line, indicating that it's going to be our last line. And let me open up that text file so you can see what that looks like. So test information 2, 3. I put a space in there. I just kind of wanted to show that it registers spaces differently, and then last line for the last line. Okay, let's bring back Java. Cool. So that is the reading of it. And oh, sorry, I forgot to say, here's the buffered reader close. That's super, super important. And I'll show you a little bit more. So now let's talk about writing to the file. We do kind of the same thing. We're making a file writer. And so the print writer is a lot like a buffered reader, except it's meant for writing. And then we can make a string. So let's write this is new text should delete all previous text. Okay. So this is a string that is just going to be what's written to the file. We could write a bunch of them. We could have like an array and loop it and then like print each line to the file. We could do a lot of cool stuff. But what this is essentially going to do is we're going to have it now read all of the stuff from the file and then overwrite it with this is a new line. we can save it, and we could, as we read it, like save all of those lines to an array and then re-put them back with this one at the very end. That would work too, but I think it's just more interesting to have a new new data in a file. And so we have the string, and here's the print line, and this goes to the PWriter, which is from the file writer, FWriter, which uses the file name, which is the path to get to that document. So essentially what this is, instead of printing out to the screen like we're used to, this prints it to the next line of the file, and it has a carriage return at the end. So we could also do PWriter.print ln last line. Perfect. Okay, so let's run it and see what happens. That scared me, but okay, so just as before, we have our information from the text file, and it doesn't tell us anything when it's printed to the file. We didn't tell it to, but let's go see what the value is. Here we go. Look at that. We have our 2 new lines. This is should delete all previous text, and then we added in the last line. So that's just the basis of FileIO. So when you're thinking about this, just remember you need that file location, you need to open it and do your things to it, and then thirdly, you must close it. That's what this part here is. So let's just for the last try do a test last and then test. Okay, and we're going to get rid of the close, and we're just going to see what happens. And how well it runs. So we run it, and instead of the information from last one, or I'm sorry, instead of the original information, we're only going to get the information that we left in the file from running it last time. But let's go see what is left in here. Nothing. And so that's really the super important part about the close. It's kind of like close and save. You have to save that file. All right, well, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to contact me. Hope you have a good summer.